Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're tackling something I think you'll really find useful. Mastering new skills.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and not just kind of dipping our toes in, but like really getting proficient in something you're passionate about, you know?
Yeah.
And the source material we've got today lays it all out in a way that feels a lot less intimidating and way more achievable.
I like that. Achievable.
Right. Makes it seem like anyone can do this. So no matter what skill you're aiming for, I think we've got some good stuff here.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm betting that you've got at least one skill you're just itching to learn, right? Could be anything. Maybe coding your own video game or perfecting a complex recipe, you know?
Oh, yeah. Or that instrument that's been sitting there forever.
Yes, exactly. So the big takeaway here is this. Break down those big, sometimes intimidating skills into smaller steps.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just like, whoa, where do I even begin?
Right. So much easier to manage that way.
Absolutely. And there's actually a ton of research behind this start small approach.
Oh,
Yeah, from cognitive science. By focusing on just a few core skills at a time, we actually improve how our brains learn. It's kind of cool. Reduces that feeling of being overwhelmed, which I think everyone struggles with at some point.
for sure.
And it lets us build stronger connections in the brain, making it easier to remember and actually use what we've learned.
So it's not just about feeling less overwhelmed, but also about learning more effectively.
Exactly.
Okay, so instead of trying to learn everything at once, we're going to pick a focused starting point.
Love it.
So for example, the source talks about learning game development with Unity, which can be pretty daunting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But they suggest instead of diving into the whole engine, start with a simple 2D platformer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, grasp those core concepts first.
Mhm.
And then maybe later on you think about 3D models and all that complex stuff.
It's like learning a musical instrument, too.
Right.
You wouldn't sit down at a piano and expect to play like Rachmaninoff right away.
No way.
Got to start with scales and chords, maybe even hot cross buns, just to build up that, what do they call it? Dexterity and understanding.
Yeah, like the muscle memory and the theory behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so think about that skill you've been wanting to learn. How could you break it down? What's a good, smaller starting point for you?
And imagine that feeling of accomplishment when you nail that first step.
Right, like, I did that.
Exactly. It's so motivating. And, sticking with that focus subset for a while has some real benefits.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Like, you get really good at that one thing.
Exactly. The source uses Python as an example.
Okay, I'm listening.
Let's say your goal is data analysis. Becoming fluent in libraries like Pandas and NumPy, they're essential for data manipulation and analysis. Well, that'll get you much further than trying to learn every single Python library out there.
Makes sense because you're focusing your energy where it matters most.
Exactly. You're not getting bogged down in stuff you don't need right now.
It's about efficiency, right? Totally. Instead of feeling like you're constantly behind, you're building a strong foundation in a specific area.
Love it. And speaking of that everything at once thing, have you ever felt overwhelmed by that? I know I have.
Oh my gosh, yes, all the time. Especially with how much information is out there these days.
Right. It's like information overload.
Exactly. And that scattered approach can actually hold you back.
Really?
Yeah, it's much more effective to pick one area, strip away the excess, and really hone in on what's truly important.
So it's almost like decluttering your learning.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. Okay, so our source really stresses building a strong foundation once you've got that focus.
Makes sense.
It's about mastering those fundamentals so well that they become second nature.
Oh yeah, like you don't even have to think about it anymore.
Exactly.
Wow.
Which then makes tackling more complex parts so much easier.
It's like mastering those chords on the guitar, then suddenly you can play all kinds of songs.
Right, or cooking.
Yeah.
If you master basic knife skills, sautéing, seasoning, oh yeah, suddenly that challenging recipe doesn't seem so scary anymore.
It's like you've got the building blocks.
Exactly. You've got that solid foundation to build on.
Okay, so think about a skill you're already good at. What are those foundational pieces that make everything else easier?
That's a good question.
Right. It could be anything, like knowing keyboard shortcuts really well, or having a certain mindset when it comes to problem solving.
Yeah, or maybe it's about being really organized and having a good system.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Recognizing those foundational things can be super insightful as you start learning something new.
Totally. Because you can kind of see how those same principles apply.
Exactly. And you know what else is super helpful in this foundation building phase? Getting feedback.
Oh, yeah, like having someone critique your work.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Someone who can give you constructive criticism.
it can be tough to hear sometimes, but it's so valuable.
It really is. It helps you pinpoint those areas where you need to focus your energy and like refine your technique.
Yeah, it's like having a coach in your corner.
Totally. Helping you fine-tune those skills and build that rock-solid foundation.
Makes a huge difference. And this is where it gets fun.
Yeah.
The gradual expansion of your skill set. Like you've laid that strong foundation.
Yeah, like you've got the basics down pat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you can start pushing those boundaries a little bit,
Yeah.
exploring new parts of that skill.
So going back to that Unity example, let's say you've built your 2D platformer.
Okay?
You're comfortable with the interface, basic scripting, all that.
Yeah, you're feeling pretty confident.
Right. Now you might be ready to take on 3D game development, building on everything you already learned from that 2D project.
And that expansion, it should feel natural,
Yeah.
like a progression, not a sudden leap.
Yeah, I get that. Like you're not starting from scratch again.
Exactly. Like with Python, if you've mastered those core concepts, you can start exploring more specialized libraries for data visualization, web scraping, machine learning, whatever you're into.
It's all connected.
Yeah, building on that solid base.
So it's about choosing to expand in a way that aligns with your goals.
Absolutely. You're not just randomly learning things anymore.
You're being strategic about it.
Exactly. And one really effective way to do that is by finding mentors or joining communities of people who are already skilled in what you're learning.
Oh, yeah, so you can learn from the best.
Exactly. They can give you amazing guidance, feedback, and support. It's invaluable.
It's like having a map and a guide when you're exploring new territory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to try progressively more difficult projects.
Hmm.
Challenge yourself a bit.
Push those boundaries.
Yeah. Each new project will stretch your skills and make you apply what you've learned in new ways.
You're constantly leveling up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about a time when you successfully expanded a skill you already had. What made that process smooth?
Good question.
Was it finding the right resources? Or maybe a supportive community?
Or maybe it was just that confidence boost you got from mastering the fundamentals.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right, like, I can do this.
And this brings us to a really important point. The source talks about celebrating small wins.
Ooh, I love that.
It's not just about checking things off a to-do list. It's about recognizing how far you've come.
And how much you've learned.
Yeah. It's using that positive energy to keep you going.
Like finishing that first simple game in Unity.
Exactly. Or that basic Python project. Those are wins. Celebrate them.
It's like a little reward for your brain.
It is. It reinforces those connections in your brain and creates this positive feedback loop that encourages you to keep learning.
I love that. Okay, so this ties back to that learner persona we talk about.
Yeah, that desire to learn things quickly, but also thoroughly.
And feeling like you're actually making progress.
Exactly, not just getting lost in a sea of information.
Right. So just to recap, we've got this awesome start, build, expand method.
That can be applied to almost any skill you can think of.
And it's not about becoming an expert overnight. It's about taking things step by step.
Enjoying the process.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you know what's so cool about this approach? It shifts the focus away from that big end goal.
Which can be intimidating.
Right. It becomes about the journey itself.
Yes. It's about those aha moments when something finally clicks.
Or the satisfaction of solving a problem.
And just that feeling of gradually building your knowledge and confidence.
It's like you're building a relationship with that skill.
I love that analogy. You're getting to know it on a deeper level.
Exactly. Understanding its quirks, its strengths.
And that deep understanding, that's what leads to mastery. It's not about knowing every single detail.
It's about being able to adapt and improvise.
Yeah. And use your knowledge in creative ways.
Like they say, mastery isn't about perfection. It's about constant improvement.
It's a journey.
A really cool journey.
With lots of exploration and pushing your boundaries.
Always learning, always growing.
And that journey can be so rewarding.
Each new skill, each win, it's like you're expanding your potential.
It's about becoming a more capable, more confident person.
I love that. All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive into mastering new skills,
Yeah, let's bring it back to you, the listener.
this whole approach is about empowering you to kind of take control of your learning journey, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
You're not stuck with some rigid curriculum.
It's all about you.
Yeah. You choose your starting point, you set your own pace.
You celebrate your wins along the way.
It's almost like getting back to that playful exploration we had as kids.
Yeah,
You know,
I know what you mean.
like remember just getting lost in a new hobby, trying things out, discovering new stuff.
Yeah, without worrying about being perfect. Just the joy of learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this method brings that same energy back to learning as adults.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah, it's more about passion.
And honestly, let's be real for a second. The world is full of information these days. It's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, where do you even begin?
Right. But this start small, build strong, expand gradually method, it's like a roadmap.
It is. It helps you figure out what to focus on.
What's important to you?
It's like having a personal trainer for your brain.
Oh, I like that analogy.
They're not going to throw you into some crazy workout right away.
No, they got to assess where you're at.
Exactly. Figure out your strengths.
Create a plan just for you.
And guide you through each step.
Making sure you're building that solid foundation.
So you don't get hurt.
And just like with physical training, consistency is key here too.
Totally. It's not about cramming everything in at once.
It's about making learning a habit.
Even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Those little efforts really add up.
They do. You'll be amazed at the progress you make.
It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
The second best time is today.
Exactly. It's never too late to start.
To learn something
To
new.
expand your horizons.
And with this approach, it's not just planting one tree. It's like growing a whole forest.
I love
The
that.
forest of knowledge.
And nurturing each little sapling.
So remember, as you're learning new things,
Mastery is not a destination. It's a journey.
embrace those challenges along the way
Celebrate those victories.
and never lose that joy of discovery.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
It is. Keep learning, everyone.
And until next time, keep those minds curious and those learning spirits ignited.